Yep.
All right, I get that. Let's see what happens. I think. Let me see. Let's see if you're on here. You're on, bud.
All right, we are on. You hear that from Nick Kirby, the Wizard of Oz. I'm hanging up, Kirby. He is the great host of Chatterbox Reds, and tonight, a lot more than that, he was my engineer, getting us on the air. Unfortunately, getting us on the air a little bit later, so we lost some people that were in the waiting room, but we are ready to go, and the show begins right now. I'm not even going to play the music because there's nothing to play. There's no hype music to play. We got rid of the sad music last week. And again, it's impossible to prep for these shows because you want to prep for a victory. And about 20 seconds before the second half begins, I'm flustered. I mean, it's as simple as that. I'm flustered based on what I've seen, based on the fact that this YouTube's starting 20 minutes late. My apologies. But welcome to everyone that is in the YouTube chat. We'll start a little show. We just got ran out of our own city. Now, 0-2 to teams from this state in this city. Lost to Xavier in Cincinnati and lost to Dayton in Cincinnati. It's not good, folks. It's not good. Final score in this one. And we're going to start the podcast version right now because I'm rambling all over the place. I'm just trying to get YouTube up, see who's on, and we'll go from there. Reds Daily, Billy, AJ, Michael. Billy, you're right. Flyers are tough. They had the best player on the floor, no doubt about it in this one. Holmes for Dayton, 28 points, 7 rebounds. Elvis, the second best player on the floor, 27 points. Was carving the defense like a Thanksgiving turkey all game long. Cincinnati's bigs, supposed to be the bread and butter of this team, nowhere to be found. So I'm going to run the intro just so I can get a second to breathe, get this thing ready. Chatterbox Bearcats, welcome everyone. Another tough night as Dayton wins 82-68. All right, so Cincinnati ran out of their own city once more, 82-68 the final score. They invite the Dayton Flyers out of the A-10 into Heritage Bank Stadium. First time Cats have played here in a while. Last time the Cats played, Dayton was actually in this stadium. Cincinnati doubled them up. I think it was maybe 76-38 or something in that game. I don't think Dayton scored 40 points. Mick Cronin was coaching that team. I miss Mick Cronin right about now. And God bless. I got the final score wrong. Cincinnati, hey, how about a win for Cincinnati? 82-68 the final score. Good grief. No Houdini today. He was actually boots on the ground at both the Bengals game and the Bearcats game. Did the old double dip. He forgot his AirPods walking out of the stadium, so obviously he couldn't hear. Nothing he can do there. Let's update this, 82-68, and then we'll just hop right back into the show so I don't have to edit this thing all night. Take 2. What are you going to do right now if you're Cincinnati? What's your identity? Thought maybe at the beginning of the year it was a little bit of balance. This team could shoot. They had the bigs down low who could score. They had the bigs down low defensively. They had on-ball defenders at the point guard position at the wings. And then tonight, for the second time away from Fifth Third Arena, and actually the third time, because don't forget the Howard game. Howard gave Cincinnati all they could handle, and that's not a juggernaut Howard team by any means. Tale of two different teams right now. In Fifth Third Arena, Cincinnati's victory margin, it's like 25 points per game. They look great. Outside of Fifth Third Arena, second straight game, they shoot the ball atrociously. In fact, third game, Howard, they shot it terribly too. Bearcats shot at 37% from the floor. 24% from deep. UC was 6 of 25. CMOS hit 3 of those. CJ hit 1. Day Thomas hit 1. And Jizzle James hit the only three-pointer he attempted. Box score looked as such. CMOS Lukosius had 14 points to lead the Bearcats. Really picked it up in the second half. The only bright spot of UC, aside from Aziz Bandango, who had 10 points and 11 rebounds and a block in the game. I thought offensively he showed that there are times, especially with the first oop in the game, that he can make a difference. They just have to find a way to somehow get him involved. And then defensively, I like what he brings against a lot of teams. I didn't like what he brought today against Dayton. I mean, I thought physically Dayton was the more physical team, no doubt about it, imposed their will. Jameel Reynolds played his first game for the Cincinnati Bearcats. We waited a long time for Jameel to be freed. Had a great dunk, not a great game. 1 of 5 shooting, he had 4 points. Day Thomas had 12 points in the game. Victor Locken had 4. John Newman had 4. C.J. Frederick had 5. Odio Guama had 2. 7 for Jizzle James, and 6 for Dan Skillings. That is not going to get the job done. And the worst part about all of this is Houdini texted me this. And for those of you that went to the game, you may have not seen it on TV, but you probably, I guess, heard it. And it was tough to tell because there was a lot of red in the crowd. And you're like, is that Dayton? Is that UC? And then you get the sky view and you see, there's a lot of that chapel blue, they were calling it, in attendance at the old dumpster fire we know as Heritage. And Houdini said it was 70-30. Not even 50-50. 70-30 in favor of the Dayton Flyers. Dayton came into town, kicked our asses, stole our wives, stole a win from us, destroyed us. 82-68, the final score in favor of the Dayton Flyers. Cincinnati ran out of their own city and ran out of Heritage Bank tonight. Last time I hope the Bearcats play there for a long time, to say the least. Completing the puzzle is what was one of my topics at halftime when I was still banking on a Cincinnati win. Oh, they'll come back. They weren't shooting well. They'll come back and win this game. So a silly man thought sitting in his basement on a Saturday night, getting ready to do a Bearcat show for the few and the proud in the chat room right now, but also the pissed off because Cincy looked terrible. But I thought maybe Jameel Reynolds would complete the puzzle. Thought maybe this team had just enough shooting. They had the bigs down low defensively. If the wings start hitting some shots, maybe. Then you add in Jameel Reynolds, the bruiser this team's been looking for. I thought, all right, this is an NCAA tournament team, no doubt about it. And maybe it still is. A lot of season left, a lot of big games to win. You just lost a quad 1 game. You have 2 quad 1 losses. Your tournament resume's fine right now. But, I mean, that wasn't completing the puzzle tonight. In fact, the Bearcats picked up a puzzle, let's say a 100-piece puzzle. They had about 85 of them put in there. They just needed about 15 pieces to fit in there, and they just threw about 30 of them all over the room, scattered them, and now they have a lot of pieces to put together because I have no idea what this team is right now. They were zoned out in this one. The pressure got to them early. Dayton put on a little full-court press. Cincinnati looked lost from the get-go. Then they dropped back in that 2-3 zone. And for those of you that have followed Cincinnati for years, I think you know that this team's kryptonite time and time again, regardless of who was the coach, is that 2-3 zone. Or when Xavier runs it, the 1-3-1. Just haven't been good enough shooting for a long time to beat the 2-3. Too much passing around the wing. Now it's too much dribbling around the wing with Day Thomas. I mean, he's racking up some steps. I hope he's got the Fitbit on his wrist because he's going to win the holiday contest for the Bearcats team. There's no doubt about that. He's coming for it. He's dribbling all over the place. Hey, he had 12 points, 5 of 13 shooting. At least he was aggressive in getting off his shot. Victor Locken, who I said is the team's best player, could be the team's best player. He didn't have a good night. His worst game of the season. 2 of 9 from the floor. He went 0 of 5 from 3. He had 4 points in the game and 7 rebounds. And I said it, I alluded to it maybe 3 shows ago, that the numbers say the Cincinnati team is good at shooting. And that's going to be one of their strong points throughout the year. No, this isn't a good shooting team because they don't have good shooters. It's as simple as that. Locken, I think, is more likely to go 0 of 5 than 5 of 6. I think he's somewhere in the middle, and he can hit 33% of his threes. And if he's open, sure, take him. But 5 of them, none fall. That's a recipe for disaster. C.J. Frederick shoots 4, only hits 1 of them. That's 25%. That's a recipe for disaster. John Newman misses both of his threes. When his threes go down, it looks like a completely different team. Dan Skillings didn't try one. He got off 8 shots and only had the 6 points in the game. Jizzle James, once again, didn't see the floor enough, in my opinion. When he saw the floor, he had good moments. He's fearless. He's physical out there. Let's get him some more minutes. And then Seamoss played his best game as a Bearcat. Really good second half, putting up 14 points for UC. Dayton was just good all around. They were better in every aspect of this game, and if they would have tipped it off 9 times, Dayton would have won all 9. Wasn't even close. I said all aspects. Cincinnati did out-rebound Dayton 41-34, and it's becoming apparent that that's Cincinnati's identity. This is a good rebounding team, especially a good offensive rebounding team based on the numbers. They had 20 offensive rebounds today. Cincinnati had 20 offensive rebounds, and they scored 68 points. It's because they can't hit water if they fell out of a boat. This is not a good shooting team. They have to find an identity of some sort, and this ain't it. It was disgusting basketball tonight. Dayton came in and just blew them out. Not even close. So, zoned out. The 2-3 zone, once again, gets Cincinnati like it does every time. And that brings us to this. Could be contentious. For those of you on the YouTube chat, for those of you listening to the podcast in the morning, leave a comment. Write a review. I don't care. Tell me how you feel. I'm just spitting facts here and reacting to those facts. Wes Miller hasn't won a big game. He hasn't won a damn game. Illinois, that's what we can point to. His first big game, he won it. We thought he was the savior. We still think he's the savior. It's time to turn up the heat. Crank up the heat just slightly. Seems like we're giving this guy 10 years before we say a word. You know, we all believe he's the savior. We all believe. I love Tyler Betsy. McKinley's coming in. I love what Jizzle's brought to the table. I like the recruits. But we thought we had the talent this year. We may still have the talent. There's a lot of basketball left to be played. Dayton isn't Merrimack. We didn't just get run out of the gym by Merrimack. We got run out of the gym by an NCAA tournament team. But it's Dayton. Come on, we used to own Dayton. Maybe I'm living in the past. But the Bengals get the W at Paul Brown Stadium, electricity in the city. Bearcats fans had the opportunity to get the double dip in, and I wouldn't have gone either. No wonder it was 70-30. If I was in town, I probably wouldn't have gone to that game either, because the Bearcats don't win the big games. They don't give you a reason to celebrate. Shootout, they lose them. They go on the road to Butler or play Butler for a little home and home, they lose them both. Gone are the days where they went into Iowa State. You know, Gary Clark's hitting game winners down the stretch. Ohio State, guaranteed loss. Get Kentucky on the schedule, you're going to lose to them too. I mean, at some point, you got to win a big game as a program. It's not all Wes's fault. But in terms of Wes, lost every game he played to Memphis in his 2 years. Lost every game he played to Houston in his 2 years. Now 0-3 against Xavier. Has a loss to NKU. Has a loss to Dayton on a neutral court. Got blasted by Ohio State. Lost to Arizona. I mean, every team that he's had the opportunity to coach a masterful game and really have us believing in the Cats, he's lost. The non-conference was set up exactly for this. 8-2. It'll be 11-2 once they beat Merrimack, Stetson, and Evansville, assuming they handle all 3 at Fifth Third Arena. You go into BYU at 11-2. You look like a dangerous team on paper. Ken Palm says you're a dangerous team. I hope they're a dangerous team. They can prove it at some point, but as of right now, they don't look dangerous at all. The only danger is me watching that game on a Saturday night. I'm getting ready to bust through my TV. So win one, Wes. Win one. I had a Xavier fan reach out to me 2 days ago, and it hit close to home because he's a realist. And he tells it like it is, and he doesn't sugarcoat it. And he said, I'm sorry about Wes Miller. I think you guys are stuck with the next Travis Steele. I hope not. I hope all Bearcats fans hope they have a little more faith than I do right now. And again, love the recruiting class coming in. But what we've seen, that 2-3 zone offense, yikes. That press break, yikes. Once again, seemed like they were a little out of control. They can't finish around the rim. They can't stop Dayton around the rim. I thought the refs were atrocious. I mean, Cincinnati was getting mauled down low. Nothing was being called. What was the free throw discrepancy? I may be proved wrong by facts. Dayton shot 30 free throws and hit 28 of them, 93% in the game. Maybe that's why. Maybe the Cats did shoot a lot of free throws, and I just look at that number, 28 of 30 for 93, and that's why it was such a difference. The revealment for UC. They were 8 of 16. They shot half as many, and they hit 50% from the free throw line. They lost by 14. They left 8 points at the line. Team's good at rebounding. They have some talent. Can West coach them up, and can this be an NCAA tournament team when it's all said and done? We'll see, but he's going to have to win one. I think there's a better chance this team is near the bottom of the Big 12, and it's not, I think. I know this team has a better chance of being at the bottom of the Big 12 than at the top. I'm talking bottom 4, top 4. I mean, they may land in the middle, maybe. I think bottom 4 is more likely at this point. The holiday cupcakes, enjoy the holiday cupcakes, everyone. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, maybe you get a little mint edition for Christmas time. Get some gumdrops on top, hooray. Don't eat too many, though, or you're gonna get the size 32 pants for Christmas from Aunt Peggy, and come New Year, you're gonna need a 36 because you shoved too many cupcakes down your gullet. Cincinnati gets 3 more. Stetson, Merrimack, Evansville. As I mentioned, snooze fest. Then they get BYU, who's number 18 in the country. They can show us more. But what they showed us tonight was something that I do a little too much as a Bearcats fan. We beat up on these bad teams. They look fluid. The offense looks great. On the ball defensively, I was thinking Cincinnati was going to be elite. They have length, they have speed, they have size, and they give up 82 to Dayton after they gave up 80 to Xavier. And the bigs for Xavier, who Muskies fans are saying are not very good, torched the Bearcats, just like the Flyers did tonight. And once again, we talk about how Wes is great at recruiting. He's had 3 cycles now, right? This is his 3rd cycle that he's had come through. Holmes was by far the best player on the floor. Elvis by far the second best player on the floor tonight. Cincinnati, I don't know who that guy is. Thought it may be Locken. He had 4. Lukosius looked good. That's the one positive from this one. I'm going to go enjoy a Saturday night. Who's in the chat room? Bengals winning, so good night in that sense, no doubt. But Jackie, you got the second half wrong. Flyers winning, not a good night. And look, I respect Dayton's program. I almost went to Dayton. Great school. St. Patrick's Day at Dayton. Warm up your hands. I'm going to be that 50-year-old guy that acting like I'm going to be on a walker when I'm 50. Let's go 75. I'm going to be 75 rolling up to those parties, those keg parties on in the ghetto on Dayton's campus, just wheeling up to the kegerator. Hey, kids, how are you? Like, who the hell is this guy? Wow, we got $4.99 from Connor Cole. How about that? We get $4.99, the first super chat. Congratulations, Connor Cole. You're the first of hopefully many. He donates $4.99 to the show. I have to write that down, inventory cost, so I can send it over to Trace and make sure I get that $5 sent to me. So thank you, Connor. I'll take that out tonight. I'll get myself a Miller Lite and drown in the sorrows because I don't know what's going on with the Bearcats program. We took Mick Cronin for granted. It's as simple as that. I think a lot of Bearcats fans were tired of his lack of tournament success, so we, I guess, slept on what he did in the regular season. And granted, he lost to Xavier a lot, and when he did schedule the tough non-conference games, he usually lost those too. But just, at least he had an identity. You knew the Bearcats were going to give you that tough, gritty Bearcat basketball, and the offense was going to look like shit. You knew you were going to get that. With Wes, I don't know what we're getting. We're getting 17 threes one night, and this team looks elite offensively, and we're running Georgia Tech, who beat Duke out of the gym, and then a couple weeks later, you lose to Dayton on a neutral site by 14 in a game that wasn't even close. Cincinnati never had a shot in the second half. It was 11 by the first media timeout in the second half. It was 18 by the second. The 14-point game, it's about exactly what it was the entire game. A Dayton Flyers ass-kicking. And for those of you that say, but Dayton's good, guess what? They didn't used to stack up to Cincinnati for a long-ass time. Look at the series history. Look at the last 15 matchups. Look at the last matchup we were talking about. I mean, maybe Dayton's great. I don't know. There's a lot of season left, a lot of chance for West to get those wins in the Big 12. But as of right now, I'll say it one more time. Wes Miller still has not won a big game at Cincinnati. And quite frankly, a lot of the times we get very lackluster performances in those big games. So we'll see. We're not going to see anything against Merrimack, Stetson, and Evansville. I can promise you that much. Those teams stink. Win those 3. You go into the new year at 11-2 and your inaugural Big 12 season. Then you're going to have chances to prove that you are elite. As of right now, you're giving me $100 to bet whether this team is top half of the Big 12 or bottom half. Connor, you want to send me $100? I'm putting it on the bottom half right now. Would I have said that a week ago? No. And I know what you're thinking. Those of you that are diehard fans of the show and watch quite a bit, you say, you're like a swing, Chuck. You're like Delirium at Kings Island. You're going this way and you're going that way. I react to the new information. I gather new information. I process it on the spot, and I react to it. And the information that I got tonight is that Cincinnati kind of stinks. Tell me otherwise in the chat. Tell me otherwise. Matt Ross, Georgia Tech's the best win. UC beat up on a team that beat Mississippi State and Duke. Not sure what's happened with X and Dayton. One thing is this team hasn't learned how to play from home yet, which is crazy to me that it's such a big deal in college basketball, but it is. Didn't matter who the coach was at Cincinnati. You know, back in the Bobby Huggins days, you'd play St. Louis at home. You'd beat them by 24. You'd go to St. Louis or go to Charlotte or go to DePaul, and all of a sudden that was a dangerous game. And tonight was a home game for Dayton. It felt that way. There was more energy in the crowd. And the circumstances really helped Dayton's regard in that category. I mean, think about it. Bengals fans or Flyers fans, probably also Bengals fans when you think about it. I think they would lean that way, just being 50 miles up the road or whatever. Perfect double dip opportunity. Hey, let's come into town, grab lunch, watch the Bengals game in the banks or at the stadium, then walk across the way and beat Cincinnati's ass with a wooden paddle. And that's what they did. They beat their ass by 14. Final score, Dayton 82, Cincinnati 68. Billy Lawrence, Evansville has 2 losses, one being BYU. So don't sleep on Evansville. They beat Kentucky, remember, years back with Walter McCarty. McCarty was fired like 2 days after that game, and I didn't think they won a game since. It had been a long time, but apparently they're good this year, according to Billy. Anthony Grant won the Wooden Award. Good coach. Yeah, good coach. Dayton's a good program. They're solid, no doubt about it. But they just manhandled Cincinnati into year 3 of Wes Miller. Time to start winning these games. Everyone has Wes Miller's back. There is a very small contingency of turn up the heat on Wes Miller right now. Everyone's saying give him time. Everyone's saying give him some more time. After the Xavier game, there was a little bit of, come on now. After this game, it's got to be, let's start winning some games. If it gets ugly in the Big 12, he's going to get a 4th year with the recruits he has, but time to start producing some results. Simple as that. Nick Kirby says West Virginia stinks. There is for sure 2 Big 12 wins. We'll take those. Not really anyone else that stinks in the conference. UCF isn't great. Aside from that, you got about 7 ranked teams. And in the next 3 weeks, you're playing like 5 of them. It's Baylor, it's Oklahoma, it's Kansas, it's BYU. That's like a 4 out of 5 game stretch, with the other games sprinkled in there being, I think, Kansas State. So Cincinnati, plenty of chances, you know. They're 0-2 against the Quad 1 teams, and they're 8-0 against everyone else. The majority of them, 7 of them, I think, being, Quad 4. So they haven't proved much at this point. Only thing we saw tonight was bad basketball. Michael Ackley says that's a good hoodie, Charlie. Thank you. I got the red one, too. We go black when the Cats wear black. We go red when they wear red. A couple of other things I wanted to get to. For those of you that did not listen to the broadcast tonight, Dan Horde was dealing with a hoarse voice, hoarse horde, to say the least. He did the Bengals game earlier, crazy overtime win over the Vikings, and then walked across the street, prepped for the Bearcats, and lost his voice before the game. Wes pointed out, he's like, you sound terrible. Terry was pointing it out. Terry was coming in from the breaks to obviously give Dan a little rest on the voice. I mean, Dan Horde, someone that's been with the Bearcats since last millennium and does an outstanding job. That is just a heroic effort. A heroic effort. Doing what you can. He clearly felt awful, at least based on his voice in this one. Get some rest, Dan, and Bearcats get some rest. Take care of these cupcakes, eat them up, and win. Last thing I want to talk about, the jerseys. They're great, wonderful. Glad that Wes brought the Jordans back. But let's get something on the court. Let's get some positive movement. We keep hearing about the movement. I want to see it. Aside from the recruits they're getting brought in. Because we're watching the recruits. We're watching the 4-stars. You know, court's littered with 4-stars. They lost by 14. Chatterbox Bearcats, appreciate everyone joining the show. We do this after every single show. Like to do it when the buzzer sounds. Sometimes you get locked out of the YouTube page and have to do it 20 minutes later. I'm going to go enjoy my Saturday night. You guys do the same. Have a good one, everyone. See ya. And Kirby, if you're watching this, hit stop stream. If not, I'll sit here. I'll get my flute out, and I'll play a live rendition of Beethoven's... Shit, I don't know a Beethoven song. See ya, everyone.